Hi everyone. Now, do you remember last week how the people turned their back on God as their king and how God told Samuel that he would give the people a king? This man's name was Saul, but don't get confused with the Saul Paul in the New Testament that we learned about in the summer. This was another man named Saul, but he was from the Old Testament before Jesus was born. Now, one day Saul's dad, who was called Kish, had a very big problem. He lost all his donkeys. Can you imagine that? Losing all your donkeys? They're not small things to lose, are they? Now, in those days, they were used to pull heavy things and work hard on the farm. So losing all your donkeys was like a farmer losing his tractor today. Kish called for his son. "Saul, come quickly, go and look for our donkeys. They're all gone." Saul took a helper with him, and they looked everywhere. They looked all around the farm, no donkeys. They looked in the fields, still no donkeys. They walked a long way and looked everywhere, but still they couldn't find the donkeys. They were really tired, but they continued to look for 3 whole days, and still they couldn't find the donkeys. Saul said to his helper, "Come on, let's go home. Dad's going to be worried about us. He's going to think we're lost now too." But then Saul's helper had an idea. "Doesn't Samuel live in that town over there?" he said. "He could ask God to help us what to do." So they went to find Samuel because God had given Samuel as a leader to help them. You know, God gives us leaders today to help us learn from the Bible. We have Christian and John and Keith, don't we? And they help us learn from the Bible and they lead the church. When Saul and his helper got to the town, they asked some girls where Samuel was. "There he is," they said to the girls. But Saul had a surprise when he met Samuel because he seemed to know all about him. Samuel said to him, "Stop worrying, Saul. All the donkeys are found." Phew, Saul was so pleased. But how did Samuel know that? You know, God used those lost donkeys as part of his amazing plan for Saul to meet Samuel that very day. Do you remember how God had been talking to Samuel? God told him that Saul was to be the king, and Samuel always listened to God and did what God said. Now Samuel invited Saul to his house. He told him, "I want you to come and stay at my house until tomorrow. I have a very special message from God for you, but first come, let's go and have a feast." Samuel told Saul to walk in front of him as if Saul was very important. Everyone was waiting for them at the feast, and Saul was surprised to be given the very best seat next to Samuel, and he had the best dinner ever. That night they stayed at Samuel's house, and in the morning they started to head back for home, but Samuel went with them. And after a while Samuel said to Paul, "Go on, tell your helper to walk on. You stay here with me. I have a message for you from God." God told Samuel what to do, and Samuel was going to obey God. So he took a bottle of sweet-smelling oil, something like this, and he poured some little drops onto Saul's head. This was a really special way, God's way of telling Saul that he was to be king. Saul was going to have to learn to listen and obey God so that he could be a good leader, just like Samuel was. God chose Saul to be king over all the people, and Samuel told Saul what God wanted him to do. You know, God hasn't made you a king or a queen, but God has given you people to help you. God tells us what he wants us to do in the Bible, and he sends people to help us understand it. You can listen to these Sunday school talks, you can listen to Christian in church, or listen at home when your mum or dad reads to you from the Bible. You know, even the grown-ups still need to listen and learn from the Bible. That's why it's really important to go to church every week and read from your Bible every day. So I'm going to set you a little challenge this week. If you don't do it already, why not try and read your Bible every day, maybe before you go to bed, or ask someone to read it to you, some Bible stories, and try and do that every night. And today there's a song attached, so you can listen to that. I hope you enjoy it and have a really good week. Bye everyone.